I want how much of your business is investor based? How much is retail based? Do you know
Mm,
off the top of your head? Because you said something that I always tell all of our agents, and it's I always talk about agents. You can't be nervous to pivot to do things a little bit differently. And you mentioned that you know investors look for chaos, or look for times when the market's coming down or something's happening, right? And
yeah.
you know I always tell agents, real estate never stops.
Never.
There's always going to be people that are buying and selling. There's real estate's always going to be moving, and if real estate ever does come to a complete halt or stop, then we got other issues that we really need to be concerned about, at least here in the United States, because it's one of the largest sectors of our whole economy,
Yeah.
right? So people are always going to need to buy, people are always going to need to sell, people are always going to need a roof to live under. But did you see that? And it's funny because a lot of people that I talked to during that time, their business grew, their
Yeah.
business took off, right? But it was just a different way about going about doing real estate.
Hmm.
That's when things started to get a little crazy as far as how fast things were selling,
Yeah.
right? And that pickup. But did you focus? Did you switch a little bit to focus more on investors when that was happening, and less on retail, or has it always been kind of your business model to have both?
I think the just from lack of knowledge, the investor side came back before the pandemic. The investor side came to me naturally because a lot of my clients were pretty handy. A lot of my clients were doing a lot of the rehab work around the hospital, around children's and all these places. And still, to this day, a lot of my clients do a lot of the blue collar work when it comes to, remodeling or construction here in Columbus. And so um, when I was on a team, I saw that there were people with money on the sidelines, like in our database, um, but they really weren't moving that capital. And that's actually like a good question because now what's so prevalent was more prevalent in my business, and I probably used that product twice and then had about two or three clients use it this year, is hard money.
Mm,
That's like huge. And when I've had listings that needed rehab, um, I had an influx of a lot of offers with, hard money loans. So that's one example of how it pivoted. But the my investors um, also take up less of my time, but make me probably as much um, as my retail buyers. But when my past retail buyers that have bought have a lot of equity,
yeah.
and now credit wise, the bank sees them differently because now they've had time with a mortgage, and they've gone on to purchase a second home, so like that's without selling their first home. So I think it's big. I think it's so important to I don't look at so much the commission check. I don't look so much at the pre-approval. I'm more focused on the desire to own a house because you might give somebody all the information now, um, and you might tell them like, hey, this can't happen. You give them the game plan, but it's another thing for them to go through it. And a lot of my clients that probably were like, when I told them like, hey, you could have multiple houses, they probably weren't interested, and or just probably didn't understand. So they, it kind of went, through one year and out the other. But once they actually got into the house, and then now they see a lot of equity, and now they understand what equity is. It's a total game changer, and the energy changes, and it's like, well, let's start tomorrow. Like, let me refinance my house, and let's start tomorrow to find that second house, and I want to do it again, and um, and that's probably the best part, and that's why I uh, love the first time home buyers because of that. It's like you're you're sowing the seeds, and everybody has to start somewhere. My investors all started somewhere.
Yep.
The ones that are super successful, tell me, we sit and laugh and we talk about the stories of, like, the first flips, or all the mistakes that they made in the beginning. And so I think eventually I will probably have agents under me. And I think my broker, always, he had stress. If you have 10 clients that you just work with and they're the ones making you the most money, life as a real estate agent is pretty easy. And that's, I'm starting to see a little bit of that now. And I kind of, if I had, mentees and agents under me, that's something that I would definitely, um, push towards. And the beauty of it is, now that Columbus is growing, I feel like with all these cities and new constructions, there's so many opportunities to go out and create these types of relationships with uh, with other people.
Yeah, I wanted to touch base. You mentioned, educating, or your clients becoming a little bit more educated on the equity and the power of that. Is that something that you focused on with them? Like, do you do seminars around that stuff, or is it more of just through your conversations of helping
Yeah,
them understand real estate just as a whole?
my my business, and this could change, but my business uh, has not been focused on reaching the masses.
Right.
My business has been more like white glove, um, more sit down with you, have an intimate conversation, um, and make sure that you as an individual um, understand uh, what is being, what you're being told, and what's being explained to you.
Yeah, I think that's a huge opportunity right now, that, those agents that have been in the business for 3, 4, 5+ years, that have had clients buy, in 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. That's a great value add reach out. Hey,
Mhm.
let's connect. Like, I was just running numbers, in your neighborhood, and I saw that you possibly have about 70 grand of equity. I would love to sit down with you, just kind of explain to you, what some of your options are. And I think
Yeah,
as a real estate agent, I think that's one of the best reach outs that you could possibly have. Because, equity is great, but if it's
mhm.
untouched and you can't access it, then it doesn't mean anything, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Right. So it's like, what can I do with this? Right. Like, how can I use this as a tool to go and grow, more opportunities for myself and for your clients.
yeah. When I hired the assistant, her name is Kim. She was also in charge of doing social media, and mainly on Instagram, and put stuff out on Facebook, because I think Facebook, is showing its age, but I think it's still very effective. I think everybody wants to be on Facebook. It still has that pull, that it still has a way of keeping eyeballs on it. And really, like, through social media, I've kept a lot of clients engaged, and I've been able to kind of have that repeat business. Uh, you know, um, Probably half of the clients that have bought for a second or third time have so because of the information pushed out on social media. So I'm starting to see the value of that. Still, pretty self-conscious about social media, But we'll work on that. I think a little bit of alcohol.
Yeah, I mean, what I found is, even like myself, like to be consistent on social media, I needed to bring in someone to help me be consistent,
Mhm.
right? And this is what I tell agents all the time. And that's why I was curious of your investors versus your retail, and kind of how you went about it is, um, you pick 2 to 3 business pillars that you want to really focus on and just lean in on those, and then you hire out either within those business pillars things that you're not the greatest at, or if you want to add something else to your business and you're not consistent with it, you hire someone out to help you be. And that's just me too. Social media is an important, is it the end all be all? No, but is it an important, aspect of all of our businesses? Sure. I think we need to be present there. And yeah, I mean, all it takes is 1 or 2 people to come directly from that for you to start to see some of the power that it has, right?
Yeah, definitely.